Hey, it's Denden, and today I theorize 900 years ago, Nefertari Lily was a wife of Imu at Marijua, much like we saw Saturn say about Ginny. Maybe Imu loved Queen Nefertari Lily, but Lily did not reciprocate these feelings, and as a result, Imu cursed Lily and himself to be bound together, creating the first ever love sickness that we see on Amazon Lily. This meant if Lily tried to leave, her health would rapidly deteriorate and she'd eventually die. Vanderdecken the Ninth was cursed, and he said to Shirahoshi, if she loved another, she would die. Perhaps this means Imu himself cannot leave Marijua also. If Nefertari Lily decided to leave anyway and fled to Amazon Lily, this would explain the origin of the disease there and the Lily part of the island's name. Additionally, this would explain why all the Kuja are named after flowers, and Alabasta and Amazon Lily have so many ties. Right, so you've heard the premise, but that's just scratching the surface. Where does dragon come into this? What about Green Bull? Make sure you Amazon that Lily button and let's get straight into this one. Amazon Lily is a once isolated island that can be found in the Calm Belt, where men are forbidden to enter on penalty of death. Similar to Wano, the island is hostile against strangers generally, and as such, people have developed a strong sense of their own culture, as well as strong haki. We see this in Skypiea 2 with Mantra, and Wano, like I said, with Rio. Side note, Rio is an anagram of Yoru, suggesting it may have been a haki-imbued Yoru that was used to carve the poneglyph. But anywho, Amazon Lily is home to the Kuja tribe, who were stated to have been around for generations, although it's unknown for how long exactly they've had a pirate crew. Kuja are named after flowers, yet not a single Kuja we meet in Amazon Lily is actually called Lily, but we can cover that in a second. Over time, the Kuja tribe have become more open to foreigners and also men in general, as we saw Boa bring the Heart Pirates back to Amazon Lily, in addition to Rayleigh being revealed there when the island was attacked by Blackbeard and Kobe. Since Marines developed sea stone ships, they are able to reach the island, leaving Amazon Lily vulnerable to threats, as was again stated in Wano. The geography of the island consists of mostly mountainous rock, but the top seems to be formed by huge petrified snakes. The petrified snakes appear different to the rest of the island, suggesting it is somehow man-made or unnatural. 9 heads are shown, similar to the Kuya symbol, which could very well tie to the Hydra and thus Orochi's fruit. It may be that the original Hydra was petrified by the original user of Boa's fruit, creating the island we see today. However, that is just speculative. But why are we talking about Amazon Lily? Well, because this island has a tragic and deadly disease, a terminal illness known as love sickness. Love sickness is an extremely powerful force in the story, which was demonstrated recently with Sanji using the power of love to stop Kizaru's laser. Additionally, we saw Garp's Fist of Love, and I'll cover these powers specifically in an upcoming video. In the series, love sickness refers to a comedic and exaggerated condition that only affects the empresses of Amazon Lily after supposedly falling deep in love. A notable example is Boa Hancock, the Snake Princess and Warlord of the Sea. She develops a strong romantic attraction to Monkey D. Luffy, the protagonist of the series, after he opposed the world government by punching a celestial dragon. When she is near Luffy or thinks about him, she becomes extremely nervous, her heart races, and she may even faint. The irony lies in the contrast between Hancock's usually confident and stoic demeanour as a powerful and fearsome pirate against her vulnerability when it comes to her feelings for Luffy. That said, the sickness itself is no joke, and while Oda often incorporates various comedic elements alongside action and adventure themes, it would appear that the physical symptoms are real enough to completely consume those affected. Gloriosa was a former empress affected by the disease, resulting in her leaving the island, only to return after being forgiven by the mysterious previous empress of Amazon Lily that's yet to be revealed. That said, Gloriosa was also said to be a traitor for leaving and was forced to live on the outskirts on her return. Despite leaving herself, Gloriosa is usually adamant the Empress Amazon Lily stays on the island for its protection, which is an interesting contrast. Some speculate Gloriosa loved Zebek, as she was swooning over Zebek at God Valley. Zebek was said to have died at God Valley, so this would explain why she no longer suffers from the sickness. Fascinatingly, Hiruluk mentioned discovering the cure for a sickness of the heart after visiting the West Blue the same year as the God Valley incident happened. This seems too weird to just be coincidence, but I guess we'll have to see. Additionally, Gloriosa also told us 2 previous rulers actually died of the romantic illness. With the reveal of Shaki, however, as a previous empress that survived, this quote may be a mistake, meaning Gloriosa should have said only 1 previous empress she knows of died of the sickness. Unless, of course, Shaki did die and came back to life somehow. But anyway, Shaki has a steady open relationship with Rayleigh, which may be the reason they have such a relationship is down to what Shaki learned about lovesickness and how to overcome it. But in summary, the lovesickness disease occurs when an empress of Amazon Lily falls in love with a man. If they suppress their emotions, it weakens them and causes them extreme pain. The health of the victim continues to decline and ultimately leads to their death. And in order to cure the disease, the empress must accept their emotion and follow their loved one. This means that leaving Amazon Lily seems to be necessary for the survival of the recipient, as per the former empress Gloriosa and Shakuyaku. Gloriosa also implied that if Hancock, another sufferer of the disease, follows her beloved Luffy, which means leaving the island, she would survive. Outside of this cure, it is unknown if the disease can be cured by other means, or if there is a cure specifically intended for it. I mean, what if, for example, your gender is swapped like with Law, or you have the memories of the person you love erased? Would you still be affected by the disease? I'd be interested to find that out. One last thing I thought I'd bring up about the lovesickness is that, funnily enough, the movie Hancock bears a very similar vibe to what we see with the lovesickness, and that originally comes from an ancient Egyptian myth, which I'll talk about in a little bit when I get to Alabasta. Okay, so lovesickness sucks, but why do I bring it up? Well, love is an important theme in One Piece and is often highlighted by Boa. For example, chapter 798 has Boa on the cover of a chapter called Heart, and her fruit produces a heart that petrifies the infatuated victims. Boa also connects to hearts through the design of her devil fruit, and even guided the heart pirates to Amazon Lily, like I said, breaking the tradition by opening the island to men. Oda infers there's ties between the East and love in the story also, which may be very important to the hidden past of the One Piece world. Gloriosa says the quote, "In the East, they say love is like a hurricane," which is a quote that's first said by Sanji in the East Blue. Boa's main backing track is called Hurricane My Love. And of course, the Super Chad, definitely not a fraud, Dragon, is implied to tie to the wind. This is significant because if you're familiar with the channel, you'll probably know I believe the 2 sovereigns mentioned by the whales were from the Far East and the Far West. Evidence of this can be found when the whales say the other sovereign will be born very far away, while they themselves are at Fishman Island, which is located under Marijua. In other words, one sovereign was born around Marijua and the other one on the opposite side of the world. I've also discussed how I believe these 2 sovereigns are drawn to each other by a force, similar to what we see when characters gravitate towards Luffy. In fact, it's often explicitly stated in the story when other characters notice this uncanny ability that Luffy seems to possess, so we can be sure it's relevant. So, if Joy Boy was one sovereign, it makes sense to me that the sovereign on the other side of the world was Lily, as I believe Joy Boy started his journey on the opposite side of the world to Luffy, before the world was flipped upside down, as they say in the story. Now, there are some interesting ties between Queen Nefertari Lily, Amazon Lily, and Alabasta. So next I'll briefly speedrun the connections that support the theory so the video doesn't get too long. Alabasta shares a strong snake, bird, and flower motif with Amazon Lily. The Kuja are named after flowers just like Lily, and King Cobra was the ruler of Alabasta and he's named after a snake. Kuja itself is the prefix for Kujaku, which is the Japanese for peacock, a flightless bird known for its beauty. And while we see the theme of a flightless bird symbolized in many arcs, in Alabasta it's personified specifically by Karu and his gang, all of whom are flightless birds. The original myth of 2 lovers becoming ill from being separated originates from ancient Egypt, And we know that Alabasta is inspired by ancient Egypt. And also, if we really want to stretch, we can see Marigold has a hawk, resembles Pell's outfit and his devil fruit. Additionally, Boa's hair was originally a navy blue in the One Piece color walk, similar to her snake, and was sort of changed to a darkened black. There's also a small important detail which is in the theme of marriage, which Boa always accidentally brings up, thinking Luffy is proposing. We see this also with Cobra bringing up suitors for Vivi to marry, highlighted in this cover story particularly. But bear that in mind, because I'll add all the when stuff towards the end. Lastly, Hancock made a treaty with the world government for protecting her island, Amazon Lily. Should Hancock not live up to her duties, the treaty would be nullified and all Kuja on land or at sea could be endangered and their island destroyed. This definitely could be reminiscent of Nefertari Lily and Imu, or the government in general, as we see Alabasta has ruins of ancient cities throughout its deserts. And we know Imu mentioned Nefertari made a blunder that assisted the D-Clan. Now, it goes without saying, Joy Boy, of course, ties to Alabasta. I won't go too much into it. We've got the poneglyphs. We've got Cobra being asked to protect the poneglyphs generation to generation for 800 years. We have a letter to Nefertari D Lily, which highlights the letter D, which obviously drew Emu's attention and shocked Imu, and it could very much be the blunder. It's likely that Lily's blunder was something that helped Joy Boy. So rather than go into all the Alabasta connections, you could catch them in our other videos and stuff. But yeah, like we'll know at this point. I think Alabasta and Joy Boy, just like Luffy and Vivi, are very, very, very connected. So, but yeah, moving on. So let's look at Greenbull and see where he comes into this, noting how Oda cleverly weaves his parallels to ancient history in the current modern One Piece world. If Nefertari Lily, Imu, and Joy Boy were in a love triangle, then interestingly, this would give a spicy context to Greenbull's tattoo. The tattoo itself means double suicide at Death River. We can be confident the tattoo is relevant because Oda decided to not give Greenbull a shirt, so you can see he's clearly exaggerating it, highlighting it. It gets weirder also when you tie the fact that Greenbull has the woods or forest fruit, which would explain the Amazon part in Amazon Lily's name, as in Amazon rainforest, if he was to connect in here. Not only that, but in Greenbull's first appearance, he mentions photosynthesis. He also mentions that he only eats when he's with a woman, likely meaning on a date, which is our second romantic reference after his tattoo. Interestingly, not long before Greenbull's devil fruit was revealed, we learned about the true nature of Luffy's devil fruit, the sun god Nika. And why do I bring this up? Well, because Greenbull's fruit feeds off the sun, and Luffy's fruit is the power of the sun god. Could either fruits or their users be more connected than we initially thought? One small note is mushrooms are pretty much always seen in Greenbull's panels, which that might be a hint from Oda towards Amazon Lily, as that's where mushrooms feature the heaviest. Furthermore, Greenbull went out of his way to reveal his personal feelings towards unaffiliated nations and discrimination, demonstrating a strong prejudice against the weak. These views are completely in contrast to Monkey D. Dragon, who created an army to oppose these sort of views. Now, speaking of Dragon, they both share a penchant for the colour green too, which is not only the colour that represents will, but also jealousy or envy. I'm thinking the love triangle I mentioned at the beginning may be paralleled by Dragon's relationship with Luffy's mum and with some complications caused by Greenbull. It's speculation, but I wonder if when Dragon was with the Marines, he was in the position that Greenbull is in now. That would be very poetic. But in my next episode of OPM, I'll cover all the possibilities of the previous Empress and look into the details of Luffy's mum further, as it's a huge topic with tons of spice that does need to be done justice. But for the most part, I'm thinking that Dragon and Luffy's mum had a relationship, which we know because Luffy's alive. It's evidence of that. And I think that Greenbull may have struggled with jealousy or may have had some romantic interest in Luffy's mum before Dragon was on the scene. Kind of like a Snape and Lily situation from Harry Potter. Further evidence suggesting a romantic relationship or even a love triangle was significant in the history to begin with can be found in a wide range of imagery in the story depicting weddings. From Sanji's wedding to weddings appearing in cover stories, time and again, Oda shows us hints towards marriage, but the theme never really features that heavily in the story. Most prominently would be Sanji and Pudding's wedding. The marriage motif seems to be attached to the number 80 or 88 by Oda, again representing the two sovereigns in my opinion, with there originally being 8 kingdoms in the east and 8 kingdoms in the west coming together, giving us 88. We see these numbers in Boa's bounty as well as her two sisters' bounty when you put them together. What I'll do here is I'll have the examples on the screen for you just because there's too many to list in this type of video, and you can see for yourself there's just tons of wedding references from Oda. Okay, so in conclusion, to recap, I was saying I think Imu wanted Nefertari Lily as a concubine at Marishwa, as we saw with Ginny. Lily likely did not reciprocate the romantic feelings, particularly due to her love for another, which is Joy Boy. This resulted in a curse, creating the first ever love sickness. Lily decided to leave anyway and fled to Amazon Lily, explaining the origin of the disease on that island and the Lily part of the island's name. Additionally, this would explain why all men would be treated as a threat and why the Kuja are named after flowers. In my opinion, Lily was probably due to be married and there would have been some sort of wedding that was due and she ran out on the wedding. I believe that she probably died from the love sickness in an act of defiance, which we then dubbed the lover's suicide on Green Bull's tattoo. Green Bull is particularly significant here because of his fruit and the nature of how that fruit works with Luffy. And there are suggestions that Luffy's mum might have been the forest god user and stuff like this, so it is very interesting. Last thing I'll say is it may even be that Brook was involved due to the ties between his name, his fruit, and the river Styx, which is a term that appears on Green Bull's tattoo. Okay, fellow pirates, well thank you for making it this far. Huge shout outs to the TLA Discord, which you can join, links in the description. That's Elson, Will of Fire, Cuba the Red Sea. Of course, we've got Dill on the audio. Yeah, so just thank you for the whole team. And there's so much more to unpack with this one. So make sure to sub for future updates and all that stuff. We've got some very big projects coming. Share the video if you're feeling spicy. And if you've made it this far, you've just won a free burn bazooka. So just drop me in the comments where you want it delivered, and I'll aim it in that direction and fire it right over to you. So anyway, have a good one. Make sure to be nice to other people, and bye.